Welcome to our channel. I'm so glad you're here. Get ready for a thrilling story that will leave you with lessons about strength, discipline, and the unexpected power of calmness. But before we dive in, we'd love to know, where are you watching from? Drop a comment and let us know your location. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because tomorrow, at the same time, we'll be back with another amazing story you won't want to miss. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. A lumberjack versus a royal guard, who will win? The morning sun cast long shadows across the courtyard of Buckingham Palace, bathing the scene in a golden light. A group of tourists gathered around, eagerly snapping pictures of the royal guard standing motionless at his post, his uniform pristine and his posture impeccable. Among the crowd, however, was a man who saw something different. Tom Williams, a burly 38-year-old construction worker, walked with heavy steps through the cobblestones, his worn boots striking the ground with purpose. His sweat-soaked tank top and the axe slung casually over his shoulder marked him as a man who spent his days in the woods, felling trees, not posing for photos. Tom couldn't understand the purpose of the Royal Guard's silent, still vigil. To him, it was just a show, an empty performance that had no place in the real world of hard labor. As he approached, the murmur of the crowd quieted, sensing that something was about to happen. Tom stopped directly in front of the guard, his muscles rippling as he planted his feet firmly. "Look at you, standing there like some mannequin," he growled, his voice thick with disdain. "While real men do real work, we're the ones who keep things going, not you, standing still in that fancy uniform." The guard didn't flinch. His eyes remained forward, locked in a steady, unwavering gaze. But if Tom had looked closely, he would have noticed the faintest tension in the soldier's shoulders, a readiness that betrayed years of experience in real combat, something Tom, in his tunnel vision, failed to see. Tom, frustrated by the silence, took another step forward, getting dangerously close to the guard. His thick fingers gripped the axe, and he raised it slightly, as if to make a point. "You think you're special? You think you're stronger than me because of that uniform?" He spat, his breath heavy with anger. Still, the guard remained unmoved, a statue of discipline. His eyes never wavered, his posture never shifted. The crowd watched in growing tension, sensing that what was coming next would be more than just words. Tom's anger swelled, his grip tightening on the axe. "Let me show you what real strength looks like," he muttered under his breath, stepping even closer to the guard. The space between them was now razor thin, the air crackling with the tension of a confrontation about to explode. What would happen when brute force met Tom's words hung in the air, thick with contempt, as he stood just inches from the royal guard. The crowd around them had started to back away, sensing the tension in the air. Tom, with his broad shoulders and muscle-bound frame, was a picture of raw strength, the kind that came from years of hard work in the forests, chopping down trees and breaking his back to build the world around him. He was no stranger to struggle. His calloused hands gripped the axe tighter, the wooden handle creaking as his knuckles turned white. Every fiber of his body was primed for confrontation, every movement purposeful, each breath deep with anger. He looked the royal guard up and down, his eyes narrowing with disdain. "What are you even doing here?" Tom sneered, his voice low and menacing. "You stand still in that shiny uniform, pretending to be something you're not. I've been working hard my whole life, swinging this axe while you just play soldier. That's real work. That's real strength." He gestured toward the palace, his voice rising with each word, pointing at the grand building behind them as if it was a symbol of everything he despised. "You think that uniform makes you special? It's all just a show. I've got scars on my hands that tell the real story." The tourists around them had gone quiet now, the excitement of the moment replaced by nervous tension. A few of them whispered, watching with wide eyes, unsure of how this would end. Tom's anger was palpable, his whole body trembling with rage, but what he didn't understand was the calmness in the guard's eyes. The royal guard, standing tall and unmoving, gave no hint of any emotion, his face as still as a stone. There was no fear in his eyes, no sign of hesitation. To Tom, that only made him angrier. He wanted to provoke a reaction, to see the man behind the uniform, but all he got was silence. Tom stepped forward again, almost daring the guard to flinch. "You don't know what it's like to really work. to feel the weight of the world on your shoulders every single day. You're not a warrior. You're just a living statue for tourists. His voice grew louder, challenging the guard to respond. But still, the soldier stood motionless, his eyes fixed forward, unyielding. The silence between them grew unbearable, the air thick with anticipation. What would happen next? Would Tom's brute strength finally force the guard to break his composure? Or was there more to this? Tom's frustration reached its peak as he stood nose to nose with the royal guard, his breath coming in heavy, labored bursts. The tourists had backed away, their phones raised, capturing the moment, but no one dared speak. Tom's voice had grown louder, his words sharp and venomous. "You're nothing but a decoration," he sneered, jabbing his finger at the guard's immaculate uniform. "I've been out there in the woods, cutting trees, breaking my back, while you stand here, pretending to be something you're not. What are you even protecting? This palace? It's just an old building. You're just a joke." His eyes locked onto the guard's face, daring him to respond, to break character, to show any sign of weakness. But the guard remained completely still, his posture perfect, his gaze fixed straight ahead. The tension in the air was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Yet the guard didn't flinch. The slight tension in his shoulders, barely noticeable, betrayed no emotion. There was nothing to suggest he was anything other than a statue carved from stone, perfectly composed and silent. To Tom, it only made him angrier. But the more the guard remained motionless, the more something strange began to stir inside Tom. It was as if he was hitting a brick wall, unable to break through. His anger flared, but for the first time, he started to question something. What was it about this man that allowed him to stand there, unmoving, in the face of such blatant disrespect? Tom shifted his weight from foot to foot, the weight of his axe swinging lazily at his side. His knuckles tightened around the handle, his muscles bulging under the strain. He couldn't stand this silence anymore. "You think standing still makes you a man?" Tom spat, shaking his head in disbelief. "Let me show you what real strength is." His words were a challenge, but the guard didn't flinch, not even a twitch. It was as if he hadn't heard a word Tom said. The soldiers standing guard at Buckingham Palace were trained for far more than this, but Tom, in his blind rage, didn't know that. He had no idea what kind of training, what kind of discipline the guard had been through. To him, this was just another man in a uniform. Nothing more. And yet there was something, the tension in the air was unbearable as Tom stood only inches away from the royal guard, his eyes burning with anger. He had pushed every button, taunted every nerve, but still, the guard didn't respond. The stillness was maddening. It was as though the guard had become a part of the palace itself, unmoving and impervious to Tom's rage. Tom's grip tightened around the axe, the weight of it in his hand reminding him of the raw strength he had built over years of hard labor. Every muscle in his body screamed for release, his frustration building until he could no longer contain it. "I've had enough of this," he growled, his voice thick with fury. "You stand here all day, pretending to be something you're not. Let me show you what real strength looks like." With that, he raised the axe above his head, the sharp blade catching the sunlight as it arced through the air, aimed directly at the guard's ceremonial rifle. It was a move meant to shatter both the weapon and the illusion that this soldier was anything more than a man playing dress-up for tourists. But just as the axe came crashing down, something shifted in the air. It happened in the blink of an eye. The guard's eyes, which had remained fixed ahead throughout the confrontation, suddenly snapped to meet Tom's gaze with laser precision. There was no anger, no fear in those eyes, only a calm, focused intent that sent a chill down Tom's spine. The guard's body shifted in one fluid motion, and before Tom could even process what was happening, the guard's ceremonial sword had cleared its scabbard. The sound of steel against steel rang out like a sharp, clear bell, and in an instant, the guard's sword intercepted the axe mid-swing. The impact sent a jolt through Tom's entire body, the force rattling his teeth and shaking his resolve. His arms, so used to swinging an axe and dominating nature, were suddenly overwhelmed by the precision of the guard's movement. The force of the blow sent the axe spinning out of Tom's hands, sending it clattering to the stone ground several feet away. Tom staggered backward, his heart racing. He hadn't seen it coming. His body trembled as he tried to process what had just happened. The guard, still motionless, had not only stopped his attack, but had disarmed him with effortless ease. Tom had assumed that his strength, his raw power, would be enough to intimidate the soldier. But now, standing there without his weapon, he realized just how wrong he had been. The guard's sword remained perfectly poised, its tip just inches from Tom's throat, an unspoken warning that left no room for doubt. Tom's eyes widened as he struggled to find his breath. His anger, once so fiery, drained away, replaced by something far more humbling. The recognition that he had underestimated the soldier in front of him. This wasn't just a man in a uniform. This was a warrior, a true master of control, precision, and discipline. Tom had learned the hard way that real strength isn't about brute force. It's about knowing when to fight, how to fight, and when to remain calm in the face of danger. And Tom's chest heaved as he stumbled back, his hands empty, his once proud axe now lying helpless on the ground. His body was still trembling, not from exertion, but from the shock of what had just happened. The guard, standing perfectly still, hadn't even broken a sweat, while Tom, the man who had spent years chopping trees, was left disarmed and powerless in front of him. His mind raced, trying to process the rapid turn of events. He had come here expecting to show this soldier the true meaning of strength. Raw, untamed power that only someone who worked with their hands could understand. Instead, he had been humbled in an instant. The guard's eyes never left Tom, but his posture remained unyielding, unflinching. The tip of his sword, still hovering inches from Tom's throat, was a silent reminder of who held control in this moment. It wasn't the man with the axe, the man who thought he could dominate with his strength. No, it was the man who stood calmly, effortlessly, without a hint of fear or aggression. The realization hit Tom like a ton of bricks. His perception of strength had been shattered. This was no longer about physical power. It was about something much deeper, something he had overlooked. The crowd around them, which had been holding its breath in silence, now seemed to exhale as the tension began to dissipate. A few whispered among themselves, their eyes darting between Tom and the guard, clearly recognizing the lesson unfolding before them. Tom's arrogance, his anger, had all drained away, leaving only the raw, uncomfortable truth. The guard, in his stillness, had proven that true strength wasn't about brute force. It was about control, discipline, and knowing when to act. Tom, his pride shattered, finally dropped his gaze, unable to meet the guard's unflinching stare any longer. The guard's voice, calm and steady, cut through the still air. "This is what real strength is," he said, his words precise, measured. "It's not in how hard you hit, but in knowing when to hold back. Strength is about control, not destruction." For the first time, Tom understood. His whole life, he had measured strength by the scars on his hands, the sweat on his brow, and the weight of his axe. But now, standing here humbled, he saw that real strength came from something far more intangible. It was the ability to stand tall in the face of adversity, to remain calm and composed, and to know when to let go of the anger that had fueled him for so long. As the crowd began to disperse, Tom looked down at the fallen axe, his symbol of power and pride now rendered useless. The guard, ever composed, stepped back, returning to his post, but something had shifted in the air around him, a deeper respect from those who had witnessed the confrontation. Tom nodded slowly, his eyes still on the ground. The lesson had been harsh, but it had been one he would never forget. True strength wasn't about the force you could exert. It was about the power you could control. We've just witnessed a powerful story of strength, discipline, and the hard-hitting truth that sometimes true power lies in control, not force. What do you think about the clash between raw physical strength and military discipline? Have you ever experienced a moment where someone misjudged a calm exterior and underestimated the strength beneath it? Maybe you've been in a situation where you've had to confront your own assumptions, or perhaps you've seen someone else go through something similar. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe that real strength is measured by how much force you can show? Or is it more about the discipline to hold back and control yourself? Maybe you've had your own experiences that have changed how you view strength. Whatever your thoughts, drop a comment and let's discuss. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We have more incredible stories coming your way. and you won't want to miss what we have in store for tomorrow. Hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know when a new video drops. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to continue this journey with you.